calls me up. There's a business stuck in probate. Dad owned it. No planning. And what is real estate investment? Stuart hit the nail on the head. You have to treat this like a business. If you treat this casually, you'll get bitten. And this was a business. I'm going to use this example because you can find yourself in the same scenario. Well, they call me up. Payroll was due 3 days after Dad died. $300,000 sitting in the bank account. Payroll's 15 grand. This business is going to be shuttered because they don't have access to the cash. Simple planning. I gave them some, who's got the darkest gray shirt on today? I gave them some Allen dark gray suggestions. They're more comfortable with, was it Robert? George. I apologize. George Gray ideas. I said, well, close the business. So don't get yourself in that situation. That's what we're talking about today. How to avoid that, okay? So first, again, own it right, protect it right, and transfer it right. If you can do those three things, it's pretty simple. So here's the visual. And who owns real property in an investment? Okay. Who owns multiple real properties in an investment? I got one hand going up back there. Yeah. So the one bucket problem. And this is whether this is you or one LLC. So we're going to start with the idea of the one bucket problem is just you individually. When you own everything in your name and liabilities created, regardless of whether it's to do with the real estate, whether it's to do with your teenage son who takes a left-hand turn when he shouldn't have and says, but Dad, the Tesla was going 50. I don't give a rip, son. What speed the Tesla was going? You turned left in front of him. Gets hit by this way, thrown into traffic, hit this way. Now we've got about a $200,000 claim. My son, I said to him, son, that's the fastest $200,000 you've ever spent. He said, what do you mean? Anyway, thankfully, he's off my insurance now. My premiums are back down. But if you're in the one bucket scenario, that type of liability puts everything at risk, okay? When we create LLCs, and I've put this up as multiple LLCs, okay? Because the idea here is if you're here today, you're looking at becoming a real estate investor. You're looking at potentially owning a portfolio of real estate or advising clients who are building a portfolio of real estate. So as you're building that portfolio of real estate, we start to structure that so it looks like you, again, the owner, multiple LLCs, rental property 1, 2, commercial property, whatever that looks like. What that does is that pulls these out of this bucket, and I've got another graphic a little bit later. If you're taking pictures, you're going to want to snap that one. Another graphic a little bit later which shows how we organize that in a trust. The LLC, a tax liability. This is to create liability and protection from the lawsuits, the exposure. And I have everybody, I've heard everything as an attorney from, well, but my sister lives there. I said, well, yeah, maybe trust your sister, but you don't know who she parties with, right? You don't know who's coming to visit. It's that person that could potentially create liability. So I am a big advocate. We keep our personal lives and our business lives separate, okay? Both from a financial perspective and from an organizational and structural perspective. So we want to get out of this one bucket. Again, that key right there, one lawsuit jeopardizes everything, right? We don't separate. In this scenario, we still have the same amount of risk, right? It's contained though. Risk here is contained here. Risk here is contained here. We want to minimize the ability of getting risk up here. Because once the risk is here, that's what the next graph is going to show. Once the risk hits you, then it percolates down to what you own. So the single member LLC structure, the basic concept, the LLC owns the property, you own the LLC. Okay? Very, very simple. You've got an investor, single member LLC, rental property. We've got partners, okay? Similar situation. Partner A and B own an LLC. The LLC owns the property. Critical, if you're going to have partners, is what's called an operating agreement. Stuart, I'm going to pick on you because you raised your hand. Have you done deals with partners where you have a basic operating agreement that dictates what happens with your LLCs?
100%.
Okay. What an operating agreement does, guys, Stuart, you've gone into business. Have any of the people you've gone into business with been married?
Absolutely.
Have you ever thought, they can do better? We don't always think that our friends' marital choices were the best. And sometimes we wonder how our friends ever married that high, right? Either way, you're going into business with somebody you know, like, and trust. Without this document, when that person you know, like, or trust passes away, becomes incapacitated, or something, guess who your new partner is? Right? You want to be able to choose who your partners are. So an operating agreement, basically, who decides what? Who pays for what? How do we exit this thing? What happens when one of our partners dies? So if you're going into a partnership structure, you need to think a little bit deeper than just containing liability. You need to be looking at agreements that are going to allow you to structure major decisions. Okay? So what an LLC does not do, doesn't replace your insurance, does not protect against personal wrongdoing. Okay? Where is the problem? See who wants to peg this. What is the thing we do every day that creates the most liability for us every single day? Drive a car. Not hard, right? Anybody have an umbrella policy with their insurance provider? What was the first thing they made you do when you got your umbrella policy?
Okay, limits of liability.
On what?
On your car insurance.
On your car insurance. They will not even consider giving you an umbrella policy until you have $250, $500 on your vehicle insurance. What's the state mandatory minimum now? $25, $50? Anybody been in a wreck? Seen how fast 25,000 disappears? Like if you got a teenager and they're driving around on 25, 50, saddle up because you're gonna get sued. Just know you're gonna get sued. So I make my kids drive around on a minimum of 100, 300 once they're off my policy. Now that they're on my policy because I have a basic umbrella, it's not a huge umbrella, but I have an umbrella, we're at 250 because that's the most dangerous thing you do every day. And if I go back a couple slides, too many. That liability is here. So what's subject to risk when you foolishly or intentionally do something wrong? Everything. You have to be very, very careful at the individual level. And we can help structure around a little bit of that. They don't fix your sloppy books, okay? One of the major ways that we lose that liability protection is what they call for somebody to get out of that circle that I drafted for your LLC, they have to breach the corporate veil. There's the legal speak for how do they get to you. They breach the corporate veil. You keep sloppy books, you commingle your personal and financial assets. You go back to my graphic and one LLC pays for the other and you're doing your grocery shopping with your debit card from the business. That is what they call the alter ego theory. It is the easiest way for an attorney. Why do you think in discovery we ask for all your bank accounts? We don't just want to see what you're spending. We don't see how much you're spending. We want to see what you're buying. I used to, former life, I ran a wedding video and photo production company. I studied business finance and marketing. My brother did film. What are you going to do after school? Oh. So we started a company, right? Well, Bob's Roofing comes in and runs the roofing card to pay for daughter's wedding video. What do you think the lawyer says when he sees that expense? Haha, gotcha. One hole in the corporate veil. Now, if they're paying their mortgage, they're paying their car payment, they're buying their groceries, it looks great when you tell your accountant, I didn't make any money this year. But those are all holes in the corporate veil. The more of those holes there are, the more likely a judge lets you through, and now your liability protection is gone. So, LLCs, critical first step for structuring one LLC per property. Now, if you get to where you have hundreds of properties, now we can mitigate some of that risk by pulling multiple LLCs in multiple properties in multiple LLCs. The thing you want to look at when you're talking about, if you're like heavily leveraged, you're really playing the leverage game, I don't care if you got 50 LLCs in one property. We're looking at what can they get from you, right? A creditor can't take the place of your lender. They can't take the place of your first position lien holders. So if there's only $100,000 over 10 properties in equity, that's truly what's at risk. Proper insurance, you're probably okay. Now you own one $250,000 condo outright, and you say, I'm going to throw this other one I just bought. Well, now you have more value. So start thinking of the value you have. Keep it simple, one LLC per property as you're getting started. Then we can get a little bit more complex. So how do we handle the personal, how do we mix the personal with the business with the idea that I want to build a business that I can transition to my family, a legacy that I can pass down, we use trusts, okay? Coordinate your real estate business interests, right? Continuity during incapacity. Your estate planning documents dictate who is going to be able to make decisions for you if you're incapacitated. You're in that car accident, you can't run your own business. Who's going to step forward? Everybody who's married. Okay? Your spouse, without any documentation, is legally able to step in. Who's over the years of 18, not married? Okay? Do you have powers of attorney? No one can conduct your business without a power of attorney.
Give me a call.
All right. Probate, the hidden cost. See, this is my gavel. Every lawyer hates this picture. I was in court hundreds of times as a criminal prosecutor and defense attorney. I never saw a judge bang the gavel. It just doesn't happen, but it is really fun. Question? Okay. Some things probate will cause, okay? And if you don't have the proper documents in place, you're going through a probate. Easily avoided, but it will cause delays and unnecessary costs. It will cause very public proceeding. It will cause family stress, and it will cause interruptions to your business operations, okay? It may cause undesired results. You may in the back of your mind say, I want everything to go, for our unmarried folks here, to my parents. I want everything to go to my sister. I want everything to go to my girlfriend, boyfriend. I don't care. If it's not written down, I'll tell you where it's going to go. It's going to go to your parents. It's going to go according to law that they call the laws of intestacy. There's a whole structured set of state laws that dictate what happens to your process, or to your stuff, in court. It may cause, instead of just stress, family contention. The more public these things get, the more likely that we end up with real significant protection and protracted litigation. So, the investor problem, and again, regardless of what type of business you're running, they require immediate action. Your dying doesn't stop your business. An accident doesn't stop your business. There needs to be something in place. So, the typical trust structure, here we go. This is the graphic I was talking about. So if you look back at the other one, this right here kind of looks like the other where we've got our 3 LLCs. What we're doing now is we're taking a trust. A trust is a box. You can imagine everything you own on the table right here, everything. You write down from your underwear to your wedding ring to your car to everything. It's just sitting on the table. When I build a trust for you, or an attorney builds a trust, we put a box to the side of that table. We start taking items off the table, putting them in the box. If it's not in the box, your trust isn't doing, you have what's called an unfunded trust. A fully funded trust, and if it's structured right, and here's the key, not just putting it in the box, but structuring it right. My box here is partitioned into 2 major sections. This is our personal section. This is our business section. So even though it's all contained in one box, we still have the limited liability protection for each of your business entities. Each of these properties still has, and that's what this line between each of those represents. That's that corporate veil, right? Protection from entity to entity, but continuity in ownership and in operations because of proper planning and proper structure. So, the box holds the personal, holds the business, but the LLCs, it's a property in an LLC in a trust. Box in a box in a box. A little Russian doll situation. And if it's properly structured, then you've got both the liability protection and the continuity. As an attorney, I do estate planning, I do business. I've seen a lot of estate planning attorneys who do not know how to fund a trust. They don't know how to modify your LLC structures. They don't know that if we don't, I see this all the time. Hey, I set up an LLC. Great. What houses? Well, I rent this house out of my LLC. Awesome. I pull up the public records. Who owns the house?
He does.
He does. Does his LLC own anything? Does he have any liability protection whatsoever? 0. All he's created is 2 defendants. Okay? Because as the attorney, I will sue your LLC too. But I will also sue you as the owner. Don't hate the lawyer, it's my job. Okay? Do your job right, get it structured properly. So then I come and they say, hey Ted, I have a trust and I'm a business owner. Who owns the business? Who should own the business?
The trust.
The trust. Who owns the trust? You. Right? You're the grantor. So your property in a trust, in a business. That's kind of the generic structure. Only works if it's funded. This is my piggy bank. I don't know why there's an umbrella. It was the best I could find. I wanted to find coins. So if you could magically in your mind make that umbrella coins, that would be really great for me. And I'll find a better picture next time. Common mistakes. We just talked a little about this. They don't change the title. Don't change the title. The owner of the property is whoever Maricopa County says it is. Okay?
Calls it right.